If you saw the movie The Replacements, you probably remember the scene. Shane Falco, played by Keanu Reeves, is attempting to inspire his teammates before a big play. Looking around the huddle, he says, "I know you're tired, I know you're hurting, and I wish I could say something that was classy and inspirational, but that just wouldn't be our style. Pain heals, chicks dig scars, glory lasts forever." For a long time, scars have been glorified as reminders of courage, toughness, and resilience. Or some might argue, plain stupidity. But what are scars, really? That scar on a knee from falling off your bike when you were young, or the scar on your back from a surgery you underwent. Or maybe it is the scar from the stitches you received after you cut open your forehead. We all have them, some more prominent than others. What is discussed far less often are the scars we carry from previous experiences. And if you have spent the last 20 years inside a mid-sized or large organization, there's a good chance you are carrying scars from previous transformation efforts. Maybe it was a digitization initiative. Maybe it was an operating model redesign. Maybe you lived through a major merger or disposition. Maybe it was the restructuring effort that eliminated roles and responsibilities of people you cared about. The event itself is not the scar. The scar is what remains afterward. The skepticism you feel when leaders announce a big initiative. The hypervigilance that takes over when you read an announcement about a cost reduction effort. Your reluctance to trust leadership or your peers. Or the tendency to sit quietly and just wait to see if this transformation is actually different than the last one. In other words, the patterns in our perceptions and thinking that remain are the scars. But before we go any further, let me take a minute to introduce myself if you are new here. My name is Chris Schmelzer, and I serve leaders who recognize the need and understand that the old models of leading and working are no longer keeping up with the pace of change. Every week, I track the subtle signals that a massive reset is coming for what we refer to as white-collar work, and share thoughts on how to lead yourself and your organization through the age of accelerating change. If you find any value in this video, like it, share your comments below, and subscribe. I increasingly believe this is one of the most overlooked realities in organizational transformation. If you are leading transformation, one of the easiest mistakes to make is assuming people are reacting to the change sitting directly in front of them. They are not. Every transformation is interpreted through the memory of previous transformations, especially when fear was involved. This week, I had two separate conversations with two different leaders. Neither knew the other. Both were leading significant transformation efforts, and both shared nearly the exact same observation. There is a real fear in our organization around consultants and transformation efforts. 2 days apart, two different leaders, almost word for word, told me the same thing. The irony of that pattern has stuck with me. Because right now, we are entering what will likely become the largest transformation of work in our lifetimes. Artificial intelligence is forcing organizations to rethink jobs, workflows, decision-making, organizational structures, and even what it means to contribute value. If you are leading change, it is easy to assume people are reacting to AI itself. Many are not. They are reacting to what AI represents: a loss of certainty, a loss of control, a loss of status, a potential loss of identity, and all of those concerns are being filtered through every previous transformation effort they have experienced. The people in your organization are not entering this moment with a blank slate. Neither are you. The research on organizational change is remarkably consistent on this one point. Uncertainty creates stress. Loss of control makes the stress worse, and ambiguous communication amplifies all of it. One of the fastest ways to intensify collective fear is through intermittent communication, unclear messaging, and environments where rumors spread faster than facts. Now add AI into the equation. Recent research from Pew suggests that 53% of US workers are worried about the future impact of AI on the workplace, and 1/3 report feeling overwhelmed by the pace of change itself. That matters, because collective fear compounds. The uncertainty people feel about AI is not existing in isolation. It lays on top of every previous experience they have had with organizational change. which raises an important question for anyone leading transformation. How do you reduce fear in the system? Most transformation playbooks do not spend much time on that question. They focus on communication plans because the rationale is we need everyone to understand. They prioritize stakeholder mapping so we can see who needs to know what and when. They emphasize a governance structure created through steering teams and sponsorship committees. I am not suggesting these areas of focus don't matter. They do, very much. But very little attention is paid to the condition people are in when they receive the message. This is where the conversation often turns to psychological safety. Most leaders are familiar with the concept. Research has consistently shown that teams willing to openly discuss mistakes learn faster than teams that hide them. People learn when they feel safe enough to speak openly. But what causes that learning? I increasingly believe psychological safety has an invisible layer underneath it. The answer begins with regulation. If transformation scars are the patterns left behind from previous experiences, regulation is what allows us to notice those patterns before they begin driving behavior. Before going further, it is worth acknowledging something that is overlooked. The person leading the transformation is also part of the system. If you have spent your career leading change efforts, there's a good chance you carry scars too. Perhaps it was the initiative that failed despite everyone's best efforts, the executive sponsor who disappeared halfway through the project, the reorganization that created more confusion than clarity, the stakeholder who publicly challenged your work and threw you under the bus, the countless hours invested into helping people adapt only to watch them resist anyway. Those experiences also leave traces. The reason this matters is because fear is not just present in the people we are leading. It is often present in the leaders themselves. Thinking back to those two conversations from earlier in the week, neither leader seemed particularly interested in talking about their own fear. The conversation centered on the fear they were observing in the organization, which is understandable. It is often easier to recognize fear in the system than it is to recognize it in ourselves. Taken together, it made me wonder how much of what they were seeing was also being shaped by their own experiences leading transformation. When someone is regulated, their nervous system is no longer acting as though every uncertainty is a threat. This changes perception. When you are in regulated state, you literally see things differently. That difficult conversation is no longer a threat to survival. Disagreement no longer equates to social rejection. Making a mistake is no longer evidence that you do not belong. When someone is regulated, they become more capable of observing their thoughts instead of immediately believing them, more capable of recognizing that some of what they fear is actually a story they are telling themselves about the future. That story is often shaped by previous experiences. This is important because uncertainty naturally invites storytelling. The less information we have, the more likely we are to fill in the blanks ourselves. Our brains are prediction machines. They are looking for answers, so we make them up for ourselves. And when fear enters the picture, those stories often become darker. Regulation creates enough space for people to question the story rather than automatically react to it. Understanding the role fear plays in perception is one thing. Knowing what to do about it as a leader is another, which raises a practical question. If regulation matters this much, what can a transformation leader actually do about it? One place to look for answers is a body of work often referred to as somatics. Somatic simply means relating to the body. The core idea is that our thoughts, emotions, stress responses, and physical sensations are deeply connected. In practice, it means helping people become aware of the state they are in before asking them to solve difficult problems. Sometimes helping people think differently starts by helping them become present enough to notice when an old scar is influencing a current decision. As you lead transformation, there are two simple principles worth remembering. The first, reduce uncertainty where you can. The second, help people reconnect with the present moment before asking them to solve difficult problems or engage in complex work. One simple practice is what many somatic practitioners call orientation. Before a meeting begins, ask people to notice 3 things they can see, 2 things they can feel, and 1 thing they can hear. The exercise takes less than a minute, but it gently shifts attention away from racing thoughts and back into the room. Another option is a simple breathing exercise. Inhale for a count of 4, exhale for a count of 6. Repeat it 4 or 5 times. Again, less than a minute. The point is not relaxation, the point is regulation. This may seem small compared to the magnitude of the changes organizations are facing, but transformation scars do not show up in strategy documents. They show up in conversations, meetings, assumptions, decisions, and reactions. These practices create just enough space for people to notice those patterns before they unconsciously drive behavior. Before we solve problems together, we need our human systems to recognize that we are here, in this room, together. The transformation brought on by artificial intelligence will touch nearly every corner of organizational and economic life. The leaders who navigate it most effectively will not simply be the ones with the best strategy, roadmap, or implementation plan. They will be the leaders who understand how fear shapes behavior. Their own behavior first, then the behavior of those they lead. Because every transformation enters an organization carrying the weight of the transformations that came before it. The scars are already there. The question is whether we recognize them. In many ways, that is what regulation is really about. Not removing the scars, helping people recognize them, learn from them, and move forward without allowing them to define what comes next. If you want to explore how to lead yourself and your organization through the age of accelerating change, my new book, The Missing Link, offers a new lens. It shows why most change efforts stall and how human capacity, not just strategy, determines success. Once you see it, you'll lead change very differently. You can access it for free right now. Link is below the video.